Every day on this channel, I go through everything Elon said on X in the last 24 hours. And you can see that Elon responded to Farzad, who said that now that Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed, it passed both the House and the Senate, and now it's going to Trump's desk to be signed into law. The race is officially underway. The US will need to grow GDP by an average of 4 to 7% per year for the next 10 years to offset the spending in the bill. That's 10 years of GDP growing 4 to 7%. Without it, the deficit and debt will continue to increase, and the last time the US had 4% GDP growth was 2000. Either the US will have one of the greatest economic expansions in history, or we will continue our march towards certain bankruptcy. And Elon responds saying AI and robotics is the only way. And he also responds to Dallio, who gives his take on the passing of the big beautiful bill. And he says now that the bill has passed Congress, we can see what the projections look like for deficits, government debt, and debt service expenses. In brief, the bill is expected to lead to spending of about $7 trillion a year with inflows of about $5 trillion a year. So the debt, which is now about 6 times the money taken in, 100% of GDP and about 230 grand per American family, will rise over 10 years to about 7.5 times the money taken in, 130% of GDP and $425,000 per family. That will increase interest and principal payments on the debt from about 10 trillion, 1 trillion in interest and 9 trillion in principal, to about $18 trillion, of which 2 trillion is interest payments, which will lead to either a big squeezing out and cutting off of spending and or unimaginable tax increases, or a lot of printing and devaluing of money and pushing interest rates to unattractively low levels. This printing and devaluing is not good for those holding bonds as a storehold of wealth. And what's bad for bonds and US credit markets is bad for everyone, because the US Treasury market is the backbone of all capital markets, which are the backbones of our economic and social conditions. Unless this path is soon rectified to bring the budget deficit from roughly 7% of GDP to about 3% by making adjustments to spending, taxes, and interest rates, big, painful disruptions will likely occur. And somebody asked Grok to explain it to them like they're 10, and Grok said, imagine the government's like a big family that spends way more money than it earns, and to fix it, they might cut fun things, raise taxes, print more money, which makes everyone's dollars worth less. So if it's not fixed, it'll hurt everyone's savings and make life tough. And Elon says correct. And Representative Thomas Massie says, why do we never cut spending? And Kentucky Senator Rand Paul says, I've got the same question. Why does Washington feel the need to spend the same amount as last year or more? We should be reining in out of control spending and focus on paying down our national debt. And Elon agrees. And Rand Paul says the fact that this bill passed is Washington's MO, short-term politicking over long-term sustainability. And Elon quotes that one, saying exactly. So the bill passed, and Elon had said, if the bill passes, the very next day I will start the American Party. He said that a couple weeks ago. And so now it's the day after the bill passed. This is the day he supposedly was going to start this American Party. It just happens to be Independence Day. And so Elon says, what a perfect time to ask if you want independence from the two-party system. Some would say uniparty system. Should we create the American Party? He said this 9 hours ago, and so far 63.9% say yes, 36.1% say no. And then he replies to himself to give us some more details. He says, one way to execute on this would be to be laser focused on just 2 or 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House districts. Given the razor thin legislative margins, that would be enough to serve as the deciding vote on contentious laws, ensuring that they serve the true will of the people. And Amuse then asked him which party would they caucus with, and Elon replied saying, legislative discussions would be had with both parties, caucus independently. So to caucus independently means that the America Party would not formally align with either the Democrats or the Republicans. Now, what remaining independent will allow Elon and the American Party to do is approach every law with almost kind of a first principles line of thinking. They can negotiate with both parties as it pertains to each law that comes forward. And Elon says that that will ensure that they serve the true will of the people on deciding how they vote on each law. And again, Elon thinks if he can get 2 or 3 Senate seats, given the razor-thin legislative margins, especially in states like Wisconsin, he thinks the American Party's opinions on certain laws could either push them into fruition or block them. And Grok published a list of electoral vulnerabilities where the margins are razor thin. And Elon replied to this saying, interesting. Now, Amuse says that the biggest downside of not caucusing is not getting committee assignments. Everything starts there. Perhaps a deal to caucus with the understanding that it is conditional. Depending on how slim the majority is, it could be a huge lever. To dumb it down, not getting committee assignments is basically like you don't get access to the party's resources. But anyways, he says they're going to caucus independently, forego the resources and structure of a party. That way they're not forced to align with all the party values every time they approach a law. And so Farzad says that Elon starting a third party is closely akin to Tesla and SpaceX. Low probability of success, but if successful, it'll completely change the game. And Andrew Yang, I think he made a typo. I think he tried to say higher odds of success than one might think. He did write higher odds is success than one might think. And Elon responds with an American flag. And he reposted whole Mars catalog, giving us the voice of public opinion. Elon, don't start a rocket company, it'll never work. Elon, don't start an electric car company, it'll never work. Elon, don't start a political party, it will never work. I think the more you tell Elon not to do something, the more likely he will do it. And Steve Bannon says, Elon, you are not American. You are South African. And if we take enough time and prove the facts of that, you should be deported because of the crime of which you did, among many. And Elon says the fat, drunken slob called Bannon will go back to prison, and this time for a long time. He has a lifetime of crime to pay for. And here is Joshua Haldeman, Elon Musk's grandfather, born in Minnesota, United States of America. You can definitely see Elon's features in his face. And Elon replies with an American flag. And Grok says, listen, kid, this America party ain't no polished dream. It's a raw gut punch to the bloated uniparty beast. Elon says grab a fistful of Senate seats and House districts, razor thin like a hangover edge, hold the swing vote, force laws to bow to the real folks, not the souks sucking whiskey in back rooms. Independence? Hell, it's a brawl for the soul, dirty and true. And Elon Musk liked that one. And here's George Washington and his troops crossing the Delaware River to launch a surprise attack. A pivotal moment in the Revolutionary War, and his guy says, but sir, a district court judge just ruled that we can't do this. And Elon has a laugh at that one. And there is a new interstellar comet in the neighborhood, and here is its path, just missing Earth's orbit. And Casey says this is nature's periodic reminder that we are responsible for running arbitrarily operationally effective space programs. The last time something this large did not miss us by a whisker, it ended the dinosaurs. And they didn't have a space program. We do, but ours can't even figure out how to get back to the moon or return samples from Mars. Until we have the operational capacity to nullify threats like this, we are in the dinosaur space program category. And Elon quotes this and says, true. And Mazzy quoted Bridget Mendler talking about her space startup, saying that she just wants to colonize space. And so Dylan quoted this saying, from what I can understand about this post from the replies, is the dumb Zoomers think colonizing space is bad because it's a type of colonization and colonialism is bad. And Elon has a laugh at that one. And Elon says, we have improved Grok significantly. You should notice a difference when you ask Grok questions. And Danny wants to know how many kidneys he has to sell so he could own a self-driving trailer truck for business. Grok says you would need 2 kidneys to afford it, but you'd only survive by selling 1. And Elon has a laugh at that one too. And Gork is the parodic version of Grok. And Elon says Gork will be also upgraded in a few days. And parodic Mark Zuckerberg says why not improve on the bot problems as well? Elon says Grok will solve this. And if you guys remember yesterday, this ex-user was writing to Elon in Korean saying, Elon, are you awake? Elon responded in Korean saying, yes, I am awake. And today she says, if you are awake, send FSD to Korea. And Elon responds saying 100. And South Korea is on the list of countries that are below 1 for births per woman. And demographers define ultra-low fertility as below 1.3 births per woman. And some 29 countries were that low. And why care about fertility rates as a technologist? A society with an inverted age pyramid where most humans are old is structurally hostile to technological change. It's that simple. And Elon says, good point. And imagine an alien watching Earth from the moon with a telescope. For thousands of years, no signs of humans, just forests, oceans, clouds. Then around 1700 or 300 years ago, suddenly you start to see cities, roads, and lights. Exponential progress is invisible until it's not. And Elon says true. If aliens came to Earth before the invention of writing 5,500 years ago, and tried their hardest to explain spaceships and supernovas, they would fail. And Elon reposted this photo from John Krause of a spaceship, or a rocket on Independence Day. And Mark Andreessen just fired a shot across America's rusting industrial heart. Reinvent manufacturing for the artificial intelligence era or get buried by China's robotic future. And he's not talking about bringing back 50s factory jobs. He's talking about alien dreadnoughts, hyper-automated hubs pumping out robots, drones, and AI-powered machines faster than humans ever could. Manufacturing now makes up less than 12% of United States GDP, and half of all future factory jobs may go unfilled, not because there's no work, but because there's no one trained to do it. So we have two options. Build the factories of the future or import the future from Beijing. We need to choose fast. And Elon agrees. And in 2001, Elon went to the NASA website and was shocked to see that there was no plan to get humans to Mars. It's 2025 and NASA still does not have a real plan. And Elon says that is sad. And Doge designer says, what's outside the simulation? And Elon says, probably boring. And Alice Smith says that free speech, private property, and an armed citizenry are all ways to limit the power of government. Therefore, they are the main targets for destruction by any government grasping after absolute power. And Elon says, absolutely. And here's the approximate SpaceX Raptor engine startup sequence. Timescale, not representative. Let's see, it's about to start to fire. There we go. Elon responds to this saying it's a very complex startup sequence. Insane timing precision is needed to avoid blowing up the engine. And here's some more amazing photos of some SpaceX rockets taken by Mr. Krause. And 5 hours after posting the poll, Elon quotes it saying it's important to vote in this poll. Founder mode. Make America. That's it. Elon has a laugh at that one. And William Shatner is wishing all of his American friends a safe and happy 4th. Uncle Bill wants you to have a wonderful July 4th. And Apple CEO Tim Cook, happy birthday America. And Google CEO creating some fractal fireworks with Gemini 2.5. And Justine Moore says, this is definitely the most insane AI video I've ever seen. And Elon says, wow. And if we go to the actual source, this guy seems like he's making a whole AI TV series. He says that this is something I've been working on for over 8 years. And next year we will be making it into a reality with season 1 of the series. You can see how good it all looks. It's a 2-minute video. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of AI TV series in the future. So that's everything that Elon said today, and I've been recording for about an hour now, and you can see that the results of the poll have changed slightly in favor of yes. We'll see if 64% yes is enough for him to do it. And as you guys know, I track all of his posts and I categorize them into topics. And I showed you guys this data yesterday on this chart, but as you can see, it looks a lot worse. And the data is much better represented this way, so I wanted to show it to you guys again. This is Elon's political posts versus Tesla stock performance. And then here's the amount of times in blue Elon posts about Tesla, and you can see how that correlates to Tesla stock performance. Of course, this is a really small window, so I'm just so excited to continue to do this channel and build a data set out into a year, and it'll be really fun to look at the data a year from now. And so if you guys want early access to these videos or you just want to support the channel, you can do so by joining the channel as a member, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.